Research Method students, this is Colin, and this is your introduction to the Excel assignment for the week. For those of you who haven't used Excel before, this is generally what the window should look like for you, whether you're using a Mac or a PC. This is the Research Methods 2017 spring survey, and they had a few questions on caffeine that we're going to be using to introduce you to organizing and sorting data in Excel, as well as recoding data on various questions. So the first thing that we're going to do is use our cursor here to select columns B, C, D, and E. These are our caffeine questions. By clicking these tabs up at the top and just dragging across. So this selects columns B, C, D, and E. We'll right click, we'll copy this, and then we're going to open up a new document so we have a nice clean workspace. You can press Control-N or Command-N if you're on a Mac, or you can go to File and New Workbook, and this will open up a new document for you. And then you can press Control-V to paste, or you can right-click and press Paste, and this will give you all of that data in a few columns here. Clicking back into the survey worksheet, we want to pick out some information on demographic questions. These are located way over to the right on this Excel sheet. We're going to scroll all the way over to column AP. We're going to select this one, AP, AQ, and AR, so questions on year in school, major, and age. We'll copy it, and then we'll paste this into the new document here. All right, that's all the data that we're going to use from the survey today, so you can go ahead and close out that file. And then in your new file, the first thing that I like to do when I have data like this is make sure that it's well organized and labeled with participant numbers. So I'm going to insert a new column so I can put those participant numbers down. You can do this by selecting column A, right-clicking up at the top and pressing Insert. This will give you a new column A to the left, and then in the first cell here we'll type participant numbers. Alright, and then I could go through labeling these by typing in 1, 2, and 3, but this would be really time consuming, so instead I'm going to use an Excel formula. Excel formulas always start with the equals sign, and once you type in that equal sign, if you click another cell, it will select that cell and it will let you use the value in that cell in a mathematical operation. So I've selected 3, which is the participant number 3, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to add 1, and what will pop up in this cell is the value of this plus 1. So once you've done that, this formula that's here can be copied into other cells. So if I wanted to, I could just hit Control-C or Command-C and select that and then paste it underneath. And Excel preserves this formula in terms of its position in the worksheet. So it's saying, take the value above me and add 1. So now I get 4 plus 1 is 5. That would still be pretty time consuming, and a faster way to copy formulas is to use this green square in the bottom right hand corner of the cell. If you hover over it, your cursor will turn black. You can select it and then drag down, and Excel will fill that formula into all the cells that you drag into. You can also double click this green arrow, and if there's data in an adjacent column to a cell, Excel will autofill this all the way down. So this basically fills out this formula here. We have a total of 73 participants in this survey. But there's still formulas in each of these cells, and if we begin to sort this information, we don't want to lose these labeled participant numbers. So I'm simply going to select column A, right-click it, copy this, and then right-click again and do Paste Special. And I'm going to paste in values. So instead of the formulas there, it's going to give me these actual numbers and values. That way, if I sort this data later, I won't lose these numbers in their order. All right, so now we have our initial labels here, and let's go through the questions that were used in the survey. The first one is, consuming caffeine increases my productivity level. The second is, you are likely to grab a caffeinated beverage before school or work. The third, consuming caffeine helps me complete my work. And the fourth, consuming caffeine distracts me from my work. So we can see that questions 3 and 4 are opposites of each other. So we're going to need to recode question 4. This is one of the reverse code questions that was created in the previous assignment. So one way that we can go about doing this is by sorting this data and then changing the 1s into 5s, the 2s into 4s, and so on. So let's select this column, and then we're going to use the sort option up here. But before we do that, I'm going to highlight this row 9 and fill it in with a color. Select column E, sort this, and do sort smallest to largest. Excel will pop up a dialog box that asks you to expand the selection. This is the option we want to use because it's going to use all of this data and sort it in while preserving the row information, right? So participant 1's responses won't get lost in a sort of mix. And we'll sort that, and as you can see, that sort of safety column that I pasted in here, that I colored in, remains intact, right? So participant 8's information wasn't lost, everyone's information stays where it should be. Now that we have these organized, we can go ahead and change all of these 1s into 5s. The easy way that I found to do this is to select them, to type 5 in the top column, and then to press Command Enter or Control Enter, and Excel will automatically copy that value of 5 into all of the selected cells. We can do this again for the values of 2. We'll select all of these. You can select by either dragging like this, or you can just do Shift and then click the last value of 2. Shift click will also select multiple cells. Type in 4, Command Enter or Control Enter, and that gives you all 4s in this column. The 3s can remain the same, and the 4s, we'll go ahead and turn this top one into a 2, and then I'll drag that value. It'll copy it down into all those. It's another easy way to do it. And then since there's just 2 5s, I'll type the 1s in. All right, so now we've reverse coded that question. So when we're computing a total score by adding all those together, higher scores are going to continue to indicate increased caffeine usage or increased positive feelings or beliefs towards caffeine usage and its efficiency in producing work. So let's go ahead and resort these by selecting our participants numbers column and sorting from smallest to largest and expanding the selection. Now everything is back in place in its previous order, and we already have a recoded question for question 4. To compute a total score, let's create a new column by right-clicking up here on column F and pressing Insert, giving us a new column here, and we'll name this this caffeine total score. So I could just add in my head across these columns. 3 and 4 is 7, plus 3 is 10, plus 2 is 12. But a little bit of a faster way to do this is by using another Excel command called sum, which is something that we've learned before in our arithmetic introduction. So sum is to add up a whole bunch of numbers. We'll type in sum and press tab, and this will basically give you a formula in which whatever you select by clicking or by navigating on your keyboard will be added together, and that gives us a total score as well. And we can continue to do the same operation by dragging down across all these cells or by double-clicking the green arrow and auto-filling this in. Let's copy this column now and do a paste special operation and select values. This will preserve that information if we start sorting anything again. And now we have our total scores for caffeine. Let's do one more operation and replace these numbers, these labels here, this nominal data, with numeric codes. This is going to be useful in case we want to compute averages or modes or medians or anything like that. So really quickly, let's copy this column so we can see what this looks like in numerical format. And what we'll do is instead of pasting this, which would replace this data, we're going to say insert copied cells, essentially duplicating these two columns right next to each other. All right, I'm going to select column H, and this is a second way of sort of sorting through or replacing data. And I'm going to click this magnifying glass up here and click replace. And Excel will pop up another dialog box where I can search for a word or a letter string in here, for instance, freshman, and I can replace that with a number. So I'm going to replace it with the number 1. I'll select replace all, and Excel is going to switch those values out. So now freshman is 1. I'll do the same thing with sophomore. Change that to 2, as well as junior. And senior. Okay, so now all of this data has been coded numerically. And for instance, once we start learning a little bit more about central tendency, well, let's make sure we get rid of that 5th here and turn it into a 5. If we wanted to compute an average year across these, Excel also has a command for that, which is equals average. And then we could select this data either by dragging up like this or doing an operation. So we'll do another one, equals mode. Let's find out what is the most represented year in this data set. We'll select this bottom column, we'll press Shift and then Control at the same time and press up and then Shift down just once, and that will select all that data as well. And press enter, so we can see our average is around 2.84, so it looks like mostly juniors, and then our mode also indicates that we have mostly juniors completing this survey. You could do the same thing on a column like age, and since this is all numerical data, we could also figure out, let's go back up and change this into an 18 in digits, so it gets added in. We could also figure out the median, another measure of central tendency. All right, so those are the basics of Excel, and this sort of operation of sorting and recoding data is everything you'll need for your first assignment, and you'll continue to learn about different ways of using Excel to organize your data as we go on throughout the class. Thanks very much.